Hi, this is Josh from Daleks Aren't Robots. We wanted to let you know that in this episode, we talk about some scenes from the 1965 Doctor Who episode, The Romans, which include attempted sexual assault. If you want to give this episode of the pod a pass, or don't feel like dealing with this right now, we totally understand. We were pretty uncomfortable with the scenes ourselves. Sorry. For the rest of you, thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the show. And welcome back to Daleks Aren't Robots. Yay! I am the Roman Emperor Josh. All shall worship me and despair. And I am here with my council. We have Kari.
Latin doesn't have a J, Josh.
Yosh.
The original spelling Jehovah begins with an I.
Yeah.
Yosh.
Just saying.
Yeah.
We also have Justin.
Justin.
Justin. Yosh and Justin. That sounds to me like some sort of Nordic sitcom. And we also have Zach.
No J's here.
None that we can see, at least. Anyway, the reason we're talking about ancient Rome is because we're actually talking about Doctor Who. Zach and I are Whovians. Kari and Justin are not Whovians. And today we're taking a look at the Doctor Who episode, The Romans, from the first Doctor era. Justin, I'm just going to call you Justin.
That's probably easier.
Would you care to tell us what the hell happened?
So, okay, the TARDIS falls down a cliff, ends up in ancient Rome. 1 month later, Vicky, the doctor, and Ian and Barbara are squatting in a villa outside of Rome.
Yep.
Just kind of having a little vacation.
Having left the TARDIS in a ditch.
Don't know what happened. My theory is that they actually landed on the owner of the villa.
It's sort of a Wizard of Oz situation.
Yeah, but they are being scoped out by slavers, and the doctor gets kind of bored and wants to go to Rome. So he leaves with Vicky. Vicky also wanted to go to Rome. While Ian and Barbara get taken as slaves by some random slavers.
Yep.
Barbara also gets shipped down to Rome. So does Ian, but Ian goes by boat for some reason.
That's a galley.
He gets put on a galley.
Yeah.
Ian was probably going somewhere else, and then his ship crashed.
Yeah. I thought they were taking them to Rome.
No, they just
put him on a boat.
Yeah.
Because you look at Ian, you say, that's a guy we want pushing an oar.
He is action physicist. He is the strongest man in the world.
I'm just saying, it just took them a while for them to put him in the arena.
Yeah.
We all knew that that's where it was going.
Well,
Right.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, so Barbara gets taken and put into the household of Emperor Nero
Yep.
Yes.
as a servant. Meanwhile, the doctor has assumed the identity of a murdered traveling musician. I assume he met the description of the musician, who did admittedly actually look like the
Yeah,
doctor.
he looked a fair bit like him.
Almost like he was a
And
body.
he was holding a lyre.
He was holding a lyre, yes. He both is a liar and was holding a lyre.
Yes, he does a lot of lying.
Yeah, he does.
There's so much lying in this one. It's pretty good.
And it's wonderful.
So basically, they all end up in Rome.
They all end up in Rome, and they all end up in Nero's court.
Yeah, in his orbit, basically.
Yeah.
The identity that the doctor stole was on the way to entertain at the court of Emperor Nero.
Yep.
Barbara ended up as a household servant, and Ian, after his galley gets destroyed, Ian and his friend, whose name I forget, something like that. It would start with a D.
Who cares?
Yeah.
They also end up in Rome because Ian knows that that's where Barbara was going.
We're going to call him Dave.
Sounds good.
Dave is good. Lots of shenanigans happen. The doctor gives Nero the idea to burn down Rome.
Yep.
Completely by
Yeah.
accident.
Allegedly.
Uh-huh.
No, there were no accidents. Yeah, eventually they all escape from Rome. The end.
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically all that happens.
Pretty much.
There was only 4 episodes this time, so
Yeah.
there actually wasn't a lot of filler.
I mean, in a way, there was, because most of what happens is filler, but like,
Yeah.
it's a sort of farcical comedy. So,
Yeah.
Sometimes when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
In the meantime, how about we start with the doctor?
Should we start with the TARDIS, just to get the TARDIS out of the way?
She falls off a cliff and they leave her there for a month.
For a month.
Yep.
For a month.
Yeah.
Upside down.
It's not quite clear why they did that either. It's just
No.
like, well, the TARDIS is in a hole. I guess we'll wait a month.
That's fine.
No, the doctor wanted a vacation.
Yeah, he was just like, no, it's fine.
The doctor's entire life is a vacation.
Also, you could at least turn her the right side up.
Well, as he said, she can take off from any direction.
That doesn't mean she's comfortable.
She was at the bottom of the cliff. Maybe that's a cliff a lot of people fall off of. So maybe this was just a month-long feeding spree.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
She might have been eating the original owner of the villa.
Like a sarlacc is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's why the doors are on top, so that she can easily consume.
Okay.
She was probably upset when they left. It was like, no, guys, there's so many Gavroches here. They just keep coming in.
They'd be weirdly Roman ones, though, or Italian.
So spicy.
Quite possibly.
I like Italian food. But let's move on to the star of this serial. The best thing in it, the doctor.
Oh my God, he's
Yeah, he
so great in this one.
He was on.
He was
on. in this
so
one.
on. He has so many good moments in this where he's like
He really
playing
does.
the trickster, and he's so good.
Yeah, basically, it's just him bullshitting pretty much for all 4
Constantly.
episodes.
And not just that either, because when he gets attacked by an assassin, he defends himself and gets irritated when Vicky comes to help him because he was having fun beating the crap out of the hapless doofus assassin.
It was like a Jackie Chan action scene. He used the whole room against him.
Yeah.
He was just playing with them.
As you pointed out when we were watching, he does know Venusian Aikido.
Yes, he does. We now know from the third Doctor that this Doctor did know Venusian Aikido.
And then, like, he's pretending to be a lyre player, and he deflects all of these attempts to get him to play the lyre by buttering up Nero and deferring to him and just, like, manipulating the heck out of the guy. And then finally, when he is forced to perform, he pulls this amazing Emperor's New Clothes type trick. He plays so delicately that no one can hear him unless they're super, good at.
They're super sophisticated.
Yeah, they have to be super sophisticated to hear this.
Otherwise, you just won't appreciate it.
Otherwise, you just won't get it. Yeah. And everyone admires it. And it works so well
that it actually backfires.
Yes, it backfires. And he convinces Nero to have him killed because he's too good.
Yeah.
Just too good. That was amazing. I laughed and
That's like a natural 20 that just kind of swings around and becomes a natural 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
That's what happens when you roll a natural 20 enough times that the DM just gets fed up with your bullshit.
Yes.
Oh my God. It was amazing. And then he accidentally, quote unquote, burns Nero's plans for a rebuilt Rome, inspiring Nero to burn down the city himself, which is sort of a historical maybe question mark, because Nero was accused of burning the city down, but it's like the people making those accusations are not hugely reliable. Nero was super hated by the upper class at the time.
Yeah.
And Nero blamed the Christians for the fire, but that probably wasn't right either. And honestly, Rome did not need help to be on fire.
Rome had like 10, like not as big as this one, but 10 major fires in the past like 5 decades.
Yeah, it was on fire a lot. But then even after that, like the Doctor has this amazing evil laugh when he realizes that he's the one that caused the Great Fire of Rome.
And it blends like right into Nero's.
Genius maniac.
Yeah, and as Zach said, it blends with Nero's laugh.
Yes.
As things burn.
Oh my God. It was amazing.
Which is not something you would ever see in Modern Who.
No. It was fantastic.
And the show treats the whole thing of the Doctor inspiring the burning of Rome and the death of hundreds of people as a victory.
Waka waka.
I mean, it does, but at the same time, the fact that I think he's laughing and it blends in with Nero's laughter, it's abundantly clear that the episode like doesn't necessarily want you to walk away feeling good about the Doctor in that moment.
No. No. Clearly not.
The man who
definitely would and completely has.
Yes, who has a lot. I mean, remember, this was all during vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was bored.
Yeah, he was bored, so he went to Rome.
And burned it to the fucking ground.
And Vicky tagged along so he couldn't kill people on the way this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had to make it more challenging.
Although my favorite part about the scene where he convinces Nero to burn down Rome is the Doctor learns from this like counselor.
Fabius.
Yeah. He learns that Nero is planning for him to basically get eaten by lions.
Right.
Because again, he's just too good a musician. It's affecting Nero's ego. And Nero comes in and is about to gloatingly calmly, like, say, hi, you're going to play in the arena where I will then feed you to lions. Mwahahaha. And the doctor turns it completely on his head and just uses a whole bunch of double entendres to be like, yeah, I know what you're planning
He makes
to do.
all the lion puns, all of them.
All of them.
It's hilarious.
And he's very specifically holding his glasses accidentally.
Yeah.
No, I don't buy that for a second. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
I will say, there's a lot of things that he does, mainly physical things, like with the sword, and a lot of the interactions between him and Tavius that aren't detailed like that in the script. So Hartnell seemed to have had a lot of input during rehearsals.
Yeah.
It was pretty great.
It was.
The shifting the sword back and forth so that it wasn't pointing at Nero was pretty funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of great physical stuff in this on all parts. So let's talk a bit about Vicky then, the newest companion.
She didn't get a lot here, but she had some good moments, and I'm sort of relieved. I was afraid that she'd just be a screamer, but I actually started to like her in this episode. She is demonstrably curious about Rome, and she's super excited to go there and have a look around. She definitely has a mischievous streak like the doctor.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a bad influence, and I am so there for it. Like, I want all the popcorn for this.
You say that, but she's the one who decided to poison Nero.
When the court poisoner is going to poison a slave, and unbeknownst to Vicky, it's actually Barbara, but that doesn't matter. Vicky switches the goblet so that Nero is going to take the poison. The only reason she doesn't murder the emperor is because the doctor stops it from happening.
And the best part about that whole thing is that afterwards, as he's about to drink, she goes to the doctor and is like, oh, by the way, I might have poisoned the emperor. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah, like, okay, this is not Susan. I am there for this. I am there for this.
Yeah, like she has a really good camaraderie with Hartnell.
She does.
Yeah.
It's great. When the doctor is getting attacked by that assassin, she doesn't hesitate to go help him. And she kind of ends up pushing the attacker out the window.
Yeah.
Which was also really
And the doctor's
funny.
like, that was going to be another half hour of entertainment that you just wasted.
I feel like Susan was there to bring out the best in the doctor, and I feel like the doctor brings out the worst in Vicky.
Oh, not the worst, just the mischief.
He brings the more devilish side to her out.
Yes. And I am so there for it.
Also, are we sure that if Vicky had known it was Barbara, that she would have intervened? The whole dog incident is pretty...
I don't know. You know, it's been a month. They seemed a lot more okay with each other in this one, so maybe.
Yeah, but it's abundantly clear Vicky does not have the affection for Barbara she does for the doctor.
No.
There was a bit of a barb early on where Vicky suggested that she thought that Barbara would know how to make a cloak or something in an obviously negative way.
Yeah, but women did know how to sew more back then, to be fair. Maybe not from Vicky's time, but from Barbara's time they did.
I thought maybe that was like a joke about Barbara's age. I didn't quite get that one, but I thought it was maybe like, oh, you're an old spinster or something like that. But
no, I don't think so. I think it was just like, oh, you're so domestic. Why don't you do the domestic thing?
I guess. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's either too subtle for me to get or too arcane for me to get.
Yeah, it wasn't a very effective Barb anyway, so.
No.
Aside from that, though, sadly, Vicky's main job in this is just to play straight man to the doctor.
Yeah.
But she does well.
Yeah.
Also, she's the only one who meets one character.
Oh, the poisoner?
Locusta.
Yeah, Locusta.
Yeah. And she doesn't approve of Locusta, but then tries to poison the emperor herself.
Yeah.
She doesn't dump out the wine and put fresh wine in there. Oh no. She just arranges it so that it's the emperor that's gonna get dead.
Yeah.
Charles!
That's the doctor's storyline. On the other side, we have the Ian Barbara slave storyline. How about we start with Ian, because when we get to Barbara, there's going to be something really heavy to talk about.
Ian has finally pulled the stick out of his ass.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was definitely the action scientist in this one.
Yep.
Yes.
And he seems more cheerful at the beginning. I mean, it's been a month, so I guess he's relaxed. He seems happy and cheerful at the start. And at the end, he has a lot of pretty pretty good chemistry with Barbara, actually. Like, this is probably the first time where I'm like, okay, I ship it. They're cute.
I feel like Ian Barbara has always been kind of endgame by the writers, but it feels very much now like they're like, let's actually start pushing it.
It looks natural now. You're like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And they joke around with each other and kind of tease each other a little bit. And he also does not hesitate to fight at any point. So we get, like you guys said, lots of action physicists. It did bug me that he was wearing a toga. And like, I don't want to belabor this point, but it looked like a toga with a stripe, which is something that's fancy, which is worn by someone of rank or a child. You would only wear that as an adult if you're like an important person in the government, like a consul. But the slavers try to catch him.
Yeah.
And like, you would not try to catch someone that was wearing, like, I am obviously a former president of the United States robes, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm dressing up like an underage boy.
Yeah, that's I mean, it was like, okay, this is not right, but you have to be a serious Rome nerd to really know that, so fair enough.
You say that, but the BBC did get quite a few letters from kids that one of the things they pointed out, Ian's toga would have only been worn by elected magistrates or underage boys.
Yeah.
A bunch of kids in England agree with you.
Yeah,
in the 60s.
It bugged me. It's like, that's a posh person, and you're not going to try to kidnap that guy, especially since he speaks perfect Roman Latin. You're not going to do that.
The excuse they keep using for why the slavers think it's okay to kidnap them is that they're Britons.
A Briton wouldn't be a Roman citizen, probably, and allowed to wear that garment.
No,
it's very unlikely, and definitely wouldn't be of the Senate, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
My assumption is just that, like,
it looked cool and they didn't know.
I don't even think it was that. I mean, I think they didn't know, but I think it's like they grabbed all of the Roman outfits from some BBC Julius Caesar production.
Yeah, probably.
Fair enough, but it bugged me.
What I do know about the outfits is, again, budget issues, and it was Daphne Dare again, the lady who, you know, did the Censorites, and she was probably given nothing much to work with.
It did look like a nicely draped toga. I mean, she probably did enough research to know how to drape the thing correctly, which, by the way, is not easy and generally required a slave to help you do it.
They also do togas or dresses bit with Ian, where at some point when Barbara's checking Ian out, Ian goes, "What is my slip showing?"
Yeah, whatever. I mean, pants would be a girl thing at this point in history, so whatever. I don't care.
Anyway, the main reason I'm bringing that up is because now we have to move on to Barbara.
Oh.
And with Barbara, we have to talk about the rape gag.
Well, it's an attempted rape gag.
An attempted rape gag.
Which is also not good, but not quite as bad.
For those of you who are not familiar with the serial, most of episode 3 involves an ongoing storyline in which Nero is chasing Barbara around the castle.
Literally chasing her.
Chasing her as she is running in fear with clear attempts to, rape her. And this is all played very much for laughs.
And then blaming Barbara when his wife catches him.
Yeah, but she's not viewed as in the right for that whole scene either, to be fair. She is not. But Barbara definitely gets the short end of the stick here. She was a lot more proactive in the Aztecs. And I'll grant you, she doesn't lie back and think of England or whatever, but she's slow to attempt escape. She isn't as smart about trying to escape as she has been in the past. She has a bit of pluck, but that's it. She's not devious and ruthless like we saw her in the Aztecs, which is unfortunate, because that's the Barbara that I really like.
Yeah. Or even just Marco Polo and Censorites, she got a lot more clever moments.
We're at the decline of Barbara's
We really kind of are. At this point, Barbara seems to have replaced Susan as the damsel in distress trope.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, season 1 Barbara way better than season 2 Barbara, unfortunately.
She does look good here, but her outfit, this time it's more of a Halloween costume than anything a Roman lady would have worn.
Yeah.
There would usually be a couple more layers, and if not, it would probably just be a tunic. It really does look like a kind of a crappy Halloween costume.
Yeah.
A couple things she gets that are a little nice is she gets a couple of barbs with Ian that are a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, toward the end and toward the beginning.
Yeah.
That was cute.
At the very least, they're not playing their relationship as fawning over each other. They've got a back and forth.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, The dialogue is actually pretty snappy through the entire thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. Dennis Spooner wrote this one. He will go on to write a number of other serials. I don't think we've
He
seen
wrote
him.
The Reign of Terror.
He wrote Reign of Terror. Okay.
The pacing is so much better on this one than on that one.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have to fill out as many episodes.
Right.
The other thing that Barbara gets that I think is nice is she does get to help another fellow slave in one scene. So she's at least is doing her best to help people.
That is correct.
Really, both her and Ian, they're shown pretty positively. I should have mentioned this when we were talking about Ian, but there's that whole thing where he was putting against his friend Dave in the arena.
Yeah.
And they were told whoever wins, well, things will go better for them.
Right.
And Ian refused to turn on him.
Yeah.
Even though Dave is ready to kill him.
Right.
Generally speaking, I think it's abundantly clear that the team was a lot more interested in the Doctor storyline
Yes.
of this serial.
To be fair,
Yeah.
how could you not be?
It was a lot better.
It's amazing. What Ian and Barbara really bring to this episode more than anything else is stakes. The Doctor gets to be all fun and flighty, and Ian and Barbara get to be like characters actually put in risk so that there's still a little bit of danger.
Right.
Which does add some kind of tonal dissonance.
A little up until
Well.
the comic rape scene, I thought it was mostly fine.
Which also has, I don't think we mentioned that the Doctor laughs at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
during the chase, the Doctor interrupts Nero and Nero shoos him out the door. And as the Doctor's staying in the doorway and hearing screaming, he doesn't know it's Barbara, but he makes like a little chuckle of like, oh, Nero, you scamp. And it's like, Doctor, seriously, what the fuck?
And it's partly to do with the way that they portray Nero. And I know that we're going to segue into this part eventually, but like Nero is the emperor. And for the most part, it's a pretty good rendition, but like he's half presented as kind of scary and overly powerful, but he's also presented as a buffoon. And those two things do not always sit well together.
No.
He personally kills one person finally, and there's all the chasing Barbara around, but the show does not seem to realize that that's as scary as it is.
Yeah.
He's also a whole lot less gay than the real Nero was. Like at one point, Nero married a man and played the bride in the wedding.
And it also seems to imply that he hasn't, slept with everyone in the court.
I know, right? But like the menacing part of him and the ho ho ho, there goes dumb old Nero chasing the girls.
Yeah.
Those two things don't sit well together.
No.
I
No.
mean, I've seen a lot of stuff, though, that does make that work. Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator is an obvious example of portraying someone as scary, powerful, and ruthless while also being a buffoonish clown.
But does it work, or does it work if you're a man?
Well, obviously, one of the big things is that Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator did not have an attempted rape scene.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the specific part that I'm talking, like that does not.
Yeah, that is definitely the turd in the soup here. Like, I think if you took that out, the serial would instantly become so much better than it is.
Or you could adjust it even so that he's
Yeah.
like coming to her in supplication, like kneeling and like touching her hand, but not like, you can make it less terrifying.
I feel like if Barbara were getting the upper hand, it would be both funnier and it would be less of a dick move to Barbara.
Yeah.
Who, again, mostly just plays victim throughout this
Yeah.
entire serial until Ian comes to save her.
Also, let's be fair here. The only reason Barbara didn't die is because Vicky happened to interfere.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she did drink that entire glass of wine that would have been poisoned.
Yeah, and we saw that a guy sipped it and just dropped dead.
Yeah.
I guess we should just fully segue into Nero, who is, as you said, a very odd mix. The actor playing him, I think, is actually fantastic.
He did a really nice job.
Yeah, he did.
So he was played by Derek Francis, who at this point is the biggest name that they'd gotten as a guest star.
Oh, that makes sense because he was quite good.
Yeah.
He was mainly known for Carry On films.
Oh, sure.
For those who are dumb Americans like us, Carry On is a series of comedy films over in Britain.
I knew that.
The biggest thing he had done right before this was The Tomb of Ligeia. the last Poe film Corman did.
Oh, sure.
Huh.
Interesting.
There's also something else interesting about him, Zach, which is his relationship with Jacqueline Hill.
Yeah, he was a good friend of Jacqueline Hill and her husband.
Oh,
Well, so at least Jacqueline Hill wouldn't have been skeeved out because it's like she probably knew him pretty well.
Well, here's the thing.
Dennis Spooner's conception of Nero crystallized when he learned that the production team got Derek Francis to play the part. Knowing that Derek Francis was a good friend of Jacqueline Hill and her husband, Spooner remembered the maxim that the best friend always tries to seduce the wife, and that part of the story fell into place.
No, they don't.
Which, like,
They do not.
yeah, first of all, that's not a thing. Second of all, that is not seduction.
No. Although he does give her a bracelet. I feel like if Barbara had like halfway tried, she would have had Nero like licking the floor in front of her. It was so bullshit that she didn't try to manipulate him at all.
and to be fair, in a lot of classical literature, when they say seduce, they just mean rape.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. I will just say that the bracelet was a last minute addition, very last minute, like as they were rehearsing to tie into the next serial.
So Nero is easily the biggest of the supporting players in this, but he's not the only one. One of the other big players that we've mentioned a little bit up till now is Didius, who we are going to refer to as Dave, because we find it funny. So Dave is Ian's pal.
Yeah.
I didn't even write anything down about him because he's just like generic friendo.
Sorry, Delos is his name.
Delos.
So close.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do that much, honestly.
No, he's just kind of a prop for Ian, really, which is fine.
He saves Ian from.
Yeah, he does
The
save
ship.
Ian from the ship.
Yeah,
Off screen.
he's generic good guy,
Yeah.
basically.
Also, he does attack Nero with a sword.
Yeah.
Also, the guy who played him, Peter Diamond, was much more a stunt guy and fight arranger.
Okay.
In fact, he was the one who did the arranging for the fight between the Doctor and the assassin earlier in the episode.
That had arrangement?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
All
sense.
the props and everything involved in it. Yeah.
He did fine.
Actually, that's a pretty impressive fight scene for the time, if you really stop to think about it.
Yeah.
And the budget.
Yeah.
I thought he was good. That's about all I had to say, though.
Yeah. There wasn't much to him.
The one thing
No.
I do like is episode 3 ends with a big cliffhanger of will he kill Ian at the end of this fight? And that's resolved by him deciding, fuck it, I'm gonna just try for the Emperor. What have I got to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't specify, but the Emperor is watching this fight seated like 2 feet away from the fight with
Yeah.
no wall or anything.
Yeah, it's not like they're in the arena or anything.
No. Well, I called it an arena.
It is not an arena.
This arena fighting pit sure looked like a kindergarten theater room that had been cleared out for the day.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that would have more decoration.
More colors. That's true.
Well, it's black and white.
Could still see the different tones.
And they'd probably be angry when they came in at the start of the next week and there was dirt all over the floor.
Yep. Tavius?
Tavius,
Yeah.
yes. Tavius
Tavius.
is this somewhat devious. Tavius is Varys from Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire.
Don't know who that is.
He's like this sort of
A chess master.
yeah, he's like the duplicitous vizier stereotype, but the difference
Yeah.
is that unlike most duplicitous viziers who are all about gathering power for themselves, he seems to be like making sure that these chuckle fucks get shit running on time and everything.
Yeah.
Doing the actual administrative work.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get Nero killed, right?
Yes, he
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
And that whole thing is really weird. Okay, so he's a servant of Nero. He purchases slaves for the household, so he has kind of an important position, or
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
a trusted one.
Yes.
You know, and that's the thing that happened. He also encourages an assassin to come and kill Nero, but also he seems to kill someone himself in order
Yeah.
to keep the assassin, who
Yes.
the Doctor is masquerading as safe. But that's not super in keeping with the surprise, he's a Christian
Yeah.
of that era. Like at the time, the Christians, if I recall correctly, were kind of hippie-ish. And also he has a cross around his neck.
Yeah, that which is weird.
Not
That's
a
a
thing
fish.
that Christians did at that point.
Nope, it would have been a
And I
fish.
don't think they would have, like, they wouldn't have had a
Well-
Christian in that position.
I think the idea is he hid that he was a Christian.
Yeah, by putting a cross around his neck.
No, it would have been a fish.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been there at all if he wanted to not tell people that he was
Yeah.
a Christian.
But they wanted the audience to know.
It's just weird because it's
Yes.
not clear what his goal is.
No, it
No.
not. And this is 64 AD.
Yeah.
which Christianity would have only been around for like 3 or 4 decades at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it was super early church.
Even Nero blaming the Christians for burning Rome is like ridiculous at this point.
My hypothesis is that they were trying for he's like an agent of the Christians to take out the Roman Empire that would be subjugating them, which I assume is all bullshit. I don't know this era, so I can't really.
This would not have been a thing at that era. They're still getting martyred left and right. Like,
yeah,
passive resistance and turn the other cheek. I just don't, it's too early. It's too early for that.
And this does lead into a fan rumor that I'm just going to quash right now, that a lot of fans apparently think that they were going to have Jesus show up in the story, and at no point did Spooner ever consider that.
Yeah, because it's been like 30 years.
Yeah.
That would have been beyond stupid. I'm glad they didn't do that.
Wow, Jesus' second coming sure took less time than we thought it would.
Yeah. Jeez, it was an interesting twist, but it also didn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah.
I'm not really clear what they were going for there.
I'm not either, and there's no mention from Spooner as to what he was going.
I think it was probably, he's a good guy because he's a Christian.
Yeah. When we had seen that he was a good guy up to that point.
Right.
He demonstrated that throughout the thing.
Even though he was really creeping on Barbara earlier.
Well, yeah.
Well, he wasn't creeping on her necessarily.
He was determining her suitable.
He came across as a bit of a creeper.
I didn't really
did. I thought he was going to be a bad guy at first, but it kind of reminds me of that TV show we were watching, Justin, and what was it, Sleepy Hollow, where this man wants to ask this woman to marry him, and so he gives her a piece of jewelry, but she's a fucking Quaker. They don't wear jewelry. That's not a thing. It reminded me of that. It was like, you obviously don't know what you're talking about here.
At one point, Spooner was going to have the inspiration for the story be Quo Vadis.
What's Quo Vadis about?
It is the love that develops between a young Christian woman and a Roman patrician.
Ugh.
They stopped that because literally right before this serial will have aired, Carry On Cleo came out, which was also riffing on Quo Vadis. But it is why Spooner was inspired to use Rome and Nero.
Fair enough.
And then he just decided to choose the Great Fire of Rome as the setting when he couldn't use Quo Vadis.
I mean, the Great Fire of Rome, frankly, I think works better as a setting.
Yes.
Probably. Poppaea. Let's move on to Poppaea.
Poppaea.
Nero's wife, who is for some reason jealous of the slave girl Barbara, when in real life I would have thought she would be just super glad that someone else had Nero's attention.
My guess is that they just thought this was funny. Like, haha, she is all mad at Barbara for getting pursued by this creepy guy.
To be totally fair, though, in real life, Poppaea and Nero were both married to other people when they got together. And that was an affair. So I could see where the character would be jealous and concerned.
Also, it depends on which historians you're looking at. Some of them do portray Poppaea as a ruthless schemer. Some of them portray her as less of that. So
I mean, she was a woman, so
yeah, exactly.
Anyone married to an emperor got portrayed that way pretty much. And later she died in real life, and there were rumors that Nero murdered her. She might have died in childbirth. Like, they don't really know.
It happened a year after this story was set.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But it's still kind of dumb.
Frankly, it feels to me like compounding the error of the attempted rape comedy plot in the first place, because it really feels like Spooner just really does not understand the shit that he has stepped in.
No. Like I said before, Nero had married a man by this point and had been the bride in the ceremony. So, like,
Rome may have been super gay, but 1960s Britain wasn't.
No,
I wouldn't expect him to show that, but that's like an example of one of the more well-known things that he did. So he obviously got up to a lot of other stuff.
Well, but even putting like historical accuracy aside, it just really feels like Spooner neither understands nor especially cares about the scope of the topic he's talking about. And it really comes across as awkward. The thing that it reminded me of, especially the bit where the doctor's like listening in and goes, oh, ho ho, Nero, you scamp, and walks off. It reminded me a lot of the really infamous bit in To Boldly Flee, this internet movie made by Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, aka the dude that no one likes anymore.
Yeah.
Where evil Mecha Kara is robotifying, I think, Lindsay Ellis, and one of the other people is listening in and thinks that they're just having sex and so walks away. And the whole thing is portrayed as like mistaking a rape scene for consensual sex scene, and it's not funny. And here, it's not funny. None of this is funny.
No, and it's super awkward to watch, unfortunately.
So, because I think it'll give us a chance to talk a bit more about Spooner, let's talk about the setting as a whole, which
Well, do we have other minor characters?
are there?
Yeah, I also did write down Locusta because
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
a
that's
real
the poisoner.
Yeah, the poisoner. She's
Yeah.
supposedly the official
Oh.
court poisoner. And
Right.
supposedly in real life, the rumor was that she had helped killed Claudius with some poisoned mushrooms. And I knew that because I was a big Rome fan when I was, in
Yeah.
high school.
Claudius and Britannicus.
Yep, Britannicus, the natural son of Claudius, I believe. But she eventually got executed by Nero's successor, Galba. But she's super infamous in history. Like, she gets a mention in the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
She pops up a lot.
Well, here she's executed by Poppaea for failing to.
No, she's not. She's banished or whatever. No, she lives after Nero.
She does, but in the story, she does get killed in this story.
I didn't see her die. When does she die?
No, it's supposed to be after she gets dragged off, she does get fed to the lions.
Yeah, but we don't see it happen.
No, we don't see it happen.
I was going to say, I wouldn't take that for granted. The doctor was supposed to be fed to the lions too, remember?
Well, yeah, but the doctor's the doctor.
Never trust a poisoner.
She wasn't, though, the official court poisoner because that
wasn't really a thing, no.
But Nero did send people to her to be trained in how to poison.
Yep, and Galba whacked her afterward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super dangerous to hang out with these people, just like
Yeah.
anything, for anything.
Yeah, and to be fair, they get that point across really well.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Nero and Poppaea and all of these people definitely come across as users who will kill anyone who gets too close to them, regardless of how.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all the people that I had. I didn't really care about any of the
I'm
others.
just going to give one mention, Tigellinius, who was a cupbearer.
The poison taster.
Yeah, well, in reality, the name is spelled slightly differently, but he was Nero's Praetorian prefect. He was the commander of his bodyguard, and they made him a mute poison taster for some reason.
And then it got a laugh beat when he died.
To be fair, the guy's face when he died is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, but I'd rather laugh at that than an attempted rape, I guess.
Yeah, it still does feel like this is darker humor than I feel like you guys are really willing to give it credit for.
Yeah.
But I guess that means we've got setting, and should we even list all the ways it was wrong? I mean, we've touched on a lot of them.
We've touched on a lot of them. It's Imperial Roman Nero's era. He was what, the 6th Julio Claudian emperor, 5th? I don't remember. Anyway, I don't know how accurate the geography is because they're vague about a lot of it. The costumes aren't great. We've already talked about that. The mores aren't particularly well represented either. Some of that's just because it's a kid's show, so like you don't want to see the stuff that went on in Nero's court. I don't know. It's the thumbs up thing for letting somebody live in the gladiatorial arena is wrong.
Well, I mean, we don't actually know what the...
No, but it's probably wrong. They think it was like a fist for let him live.
But I mean, like, Hollywood to this day, though, still uses the thumb up, thumb down thing.
Yeah.
Aggravating.
It's clearly one of those myths that's just gonna stick with us, I guess.
One of the things we did bring up, the fact that no one ate while reclining.
Yeah, that actually bothered me a lot because they kept doing it. That would have been barbaric to Romans. Like, nobody did that.
They considered it, but what you have to remember is their sets were small and they couldn't fit that many couches in the studio.
There has to be creative ways to film that. I don't know. That bugged me because that's a very well-known characteristic of Rome.
The other thing I would like to bring up, though, is Zach, you found an interesting anecdote about what Spooner pulled from to get the historical bits of this.
So usually when Doctor Who wanted to do a historical adventure, they do a lot of attention to the accurate portrayal of events. Dennis Spooner said, screw that, and just went with popular myths that he knew and just went with that.
You don't say.
Yeah, I think we've already called him out pretty comprehensively for a lot of it.
Apparently 8-year-olds at the time were calling him out comprehensively. So lesson learned, I hope.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think Spooner, as a writer of dialogue and action, is actually very good.
Also, something that kids did call him out for, the owner of the villa that they're living at, Flavius Giscard, that's a medieval Normandy name, not anywhere close
French.
to time. Yeah,
Fucking
Yeah.
French.
French from the medieval ages, not anywhere
Yeah,
close.
that's. I was like, that's not right. As soon as you mentioned his name, I was like, no.
I guess he still had Reign of Terror on the brain.
He based it on an actual Norman adventurer, some guy called Robert Giscard.
All right. Do we have any other interesting production stuff or production questions?
I did notice that Hartnell flubbed a line a couple times. He's magnificent in this episode, but he did flub a couple of lines. How was his health at this point?
It was declining, but okay.
He seemed pretty game for the physical stuff.
He did.
The couple of flubs he did was actually in some ways improved some of the lines. Like he added some things in that actually, if he had pulled it off without flub, would have been.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, when he first meets Nero and when he's turning the lyre back over to him, his line is scripted as that would be impossible. And what he tries to turn it into is that, Your Excellency, would be an impossibility, which I feel works better, but he doesn't quite pull off impossibility when he does it.
I think at this point, though, no one knew that there were any problems with his health.
You know, other than dropping him on a camera.
Well, yeah, other than the BBC trying to murder him.
Well, yeah.
Repeatedly.
That's just what they do with Doctor Who.
But as I said, a lot of the whispering and a lot of like the intro to the scenes with him and Tavius, like a lot of stuff with him wasn't in the script or anything.
I kind of wonder if that's why Hartnell seems to be having so much fun in this serial in particular.
Could
Could
be.
be.
Nero had painted toenails, I think. Is that a thing? Like, I know that like cosmetics were definitely a thing way before this point, but
Yeah.
A, is that a thing? And B, are they just queer coding him?
I don't know about the queer coding thing. If they were, they could have done more than they did. So I did look into it, and like China has had nail coloring for thousands of years, but that's not Rome.
Well, and I know Egypt had various cosmetics, and Rome owed Egypt for reference.
Cleopatra used henna on her nails. So it is believed, I had to dig for this. Places do disagree whether or not ancient Rome did do nail coloring, but I did find that some of them used henna or a dye called lac, which was extracted from an Indian insect and imported into Rome.
So what you're saying is the mystery continues.
Theoretically, maybe they had dyes that they used on nails, or maybe not.
Fair enough. I did have a question too. You know, the Keys of Marinus had this pseudo-Greek-like culture. Did they reuse any stuff from that set, or was that so long ago that they've thrown away like 20 times by now?
This was the same set designer, Raymond Cusick. I can't find if he reused anything, but knowing their budget, if he had anything left lying around, he would have. But that was from the previous shooting block.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't look into this specifically, but I did look to see what props would have carried over. And while it's possible they kept some props and stuff, sets were apparently harder to transfer between season 1 and season 2, specifically because
they moved, right?
Yeah, the studio space itself changed dramatically. So even if they had brought in the stuff, it would have been too small now for the studio that they had.
That makes
also
sense.
The model of Rome on Fire was a rush job.
You don't
say.
No one was happy with it.
I wonder why.
Because the flames looked too large compared to...
That was the problem they had. Not that Rome is apparently one giant piece of construction paper. It's
whoa. Piece. Hold on. That was made by Shawcraft Models, the same people who made the Daleks.
Okay. I think we can all agree this was a rush job and they probably didn't give it their all.
Wow, you're being
Or
harsh.
couldn't.
It wasn't even a
It
matte
was pretty
painting.
terrible.
It
Yeah.
wasn't even detailed. It was one stock silhouette of Rome.
There was a
Yeah.
better miniature earlier, but that was stock footage of a miniature from another movie.
Thought you were gonna say there was another miniature, but it caught on
Caught
fire.
on fire. Yeah, I thought that too for a second there.
That would have been funny.
God. So what did Vicky, Maureen O'Brien, think of her first full serial? How was this for her?
Here's the thing. I can't find a specific contemporary interview to where this came out. And by the time we did get interviews with her, as she said, she remembers some details of some things, but she wanted to get out of the role almost as soon as taking it.
Oof.
She had some good memories, but I have found no interview where she has any memories of the Romans.
Why did she want to get out so bad? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but we kind of glossed over that.
This seems to be the curse of the younger companions of this time. The show doesn't treat them well, I guess.
I liked Vicky in this
Yeah,
one, though.
I liked her
She does
too.
have good points, and she's not just a carbon copy of Susan.
No, although I was concerned in the first episode, she was coming across very much as Susan 2.0. But
Yeah.
once she goes off with the doctor by herself, she has a mischievous streak and a sort of curiosity streak that Susan didn't really have.
She didn't get to have it, I would say.
Yeah.
Because they did try to give her that, at first, but it didn't last.
Well, the curiosity, certainly. I don't think Susan was ever really mischievous.
No.
No, she always seemed very resigned. Like she would go along with things, but it was more of a grandfather sort of way. I guess we're doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, Vicky's like, I'm gonna poison this.
Yeah,
asshole.
no, she was game.
The gag seemed to be that the doctor was more impulsive and childish than Susan would be.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, they're definitely partners in crime. And I
Yes.
do mean crime.
Yes.
All the crime.
Yeah.
Be time travelers, do crime.
Let's go on to the ratings.
Well, actually, before we go to the ratings, I would like to talk about a different sort of ratings. Zach, do you care to go into the numbers of people watching?
I also have a little bit more on that because, but yes, I'll do the numbers first because we actually have an audience appreciation thing that was turned into Verity Lambert for this serial with quotes from audience members. Let me get the numbers though. You want the numbers?
So Verity Lambert was getting a lot of praise after this episode.
Uh-oh. I sense danger. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but there's a phenomenon called the glass cliff, which is when a company or a project is doing badly, they will put a woman in charge of it, and she will fall down that cliff a lot of the time because it's already in trouble by the time she gets there.
She's been in charge since the beginning, and she's already stopped the show from dying numerous times.
And they've hated the show since day one, so she's been on the cliff the whole time.
Can we get just some numbers?
So it averaged between 10 and 13 million viewers for each episode. The lowest was episode 3 with only 10 million viewers, and that's because it came out minutes after the end of Churchill's funeral, which was broadcast live on the BBC. It didn't break the top 10 at all this time, but it was getting more views than it had before. There was just a lot more competition.
Again, for comparison, both Dalek Invasion of Earth and The Rescue were the highest rated serials at the time. So the show is still on a upward trajectory in terms of popularity.
So of course they must try to kill it.
Actually, we don't have a story of the BBC trying to kill the show this time.
The BBC Audience Research Department sent her a report with a questionnaire completed by 368 viewers. Some highlights. This program gets more and more bizarre. Doctor Who is only suitable for morons. Complaints that there was too much violence in this serial.
To be fair, there was some.
I want to say if Doctor Who is only suitable for morons, then I declare myself a proud moron.
It had a homemade air composed of cardboardy scenery, ludicrous fights, and an unconvincing representation of the burning of Rome.
Okay, the fights were pretty ludicrous and the Rome burning was pretty unconvincing.
Okay, but those ludicrous fights were amazing.
Yes, they were. They were very
Pretty good.
funny.
Where else will you see an old man wrap an assassin in a blanket? I ask you.
Also, most of them did agree that Derek Francis was good as Nero and that William Hartnell outshone everyone else in the serial.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one other thing that I'll say is Verity Lambert. She wanted this to be a comedy, but she wasn't happy with how it turned out. This was part of her plan for season 2 to start trying and push what Doctor Who could be more experimental and not have Doctor Who fall into a rut of what it had to be.
That's fair. There's definitely a very distinct difference between this and, say, Dalek Invasion of Earth, which was not at all a comedy.
And they're not falling into the rut 3 has fallen into.
Yeah, 3 got very samey. So, without further ado, I suppose it is time we talk about our ratings. As people listening should know by now, we take our very complicated thoughts on the process and try and boil it down to a simple number between 1 and 4 Daleks, 1 being not so good, 4 being really good. Does anyone want to go first?
I will.
Okay, Justin.
I liked it, but as you know, I'm sure as will be the case, the rapey stuff that really takes it down a few notches. Like without it, I would have said it was a 4. With it, I'm gonna say it's like a 2 or 2.5.
Yeah,
it makes it really hard to like.
It really does. It's always awkward when you say this is a really good piece of media, except for the rape stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Sadly, that comes up a lot.
It does.
I think I pretty much in line with your agreement. Without it, I would put it at a 3.5, 4 Dalek story. Thought it was really great, very entertaining. With it, I am knocking it down to 2.5. In particular, the scene where the Doctor hears it going on and is just like, oh, you scamp.
Yeah.
And it's obviously screams. It's obviously not ooh or something.
No,
it's not.
That is very much in line with Barbara shooting the dog as a level of character assassination for the Doctor, and I do not approve of it.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Kari?
Well, I actually liked for the most part the depiction of Rome, despite getting so many details so very wrong. I also thought the pacing was great. A lot of characters were really good, but the stupid rape thing, even that it was an attempt, and the fact that the show seemed to think it was funny, I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay. All right. It's still in the good area, I guess.
For me. Yeah.
All right. Zach.
I'm going to go 2. And some of that is because of the massive amount of positive reviews that I kept seeing that kept ignoring all the issues that we've brought up, which isn't the fairest thing to put on the episode, but these ratings don't have to be fair. So,
No, they're not.
But yeah, mainly for all the points that have already been brought up. Too.
Yeah, it's really awkward to say this is a really good story. Shame about the attempted rape.
Yeah.
But there you go. It's like everyone who's ever tried to talk someone else into reading Stephen King's It. Real good until the child orgy. Anyway, that's our episode. If you liked us, please like, share, subscribe, follow us on any of the podcasty places. You can download us off anywhere. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on our website, DalексAren'tRobots.com. All the links are down below. And if you want to try out the episode for yourself, it's available to watch on
BritBox in the US.
And I don't know where it's from in the UK. I will have to look into that. It's also available on Region 1 DVDs that can be bought, so if you want, you can check that out. I'm sure that's also got special features. And yeah, that's the Romans. Next time, we'll be jumping back to the 9th Doctor.
Oh, God.
And we're going to be seeing our titular enemy return in Dalek.
Spoiler.
Am I going to need vodka for this one?
Yes.
It's considered by many to be the point where Doctor Who got good in the revived series. So maybe less vodka? It's less season 1 TNG and more late season 2 TNG.
Yeah, that's the one that everybody hates.
Is it? I thought season 1 was the one everyone hates.
No, season 1 was just weird. Season 2 was the one where they had the writer's strike.
Shades of Grey was pretty bad, you guys.
Okay, season 3. Season 3.
Season 3 is pretty consistently the one everybody started really liking it.
Well, we'll see. And until then, remember, feed your TARDIS and
don't leave her upside down after she's fallen off a cliff.
No,
for a month.
Fuckers.
No,
for a month.
They let vines grow on her.
something else I forgot to tell you. I think I've poisoned Nero.
Really? What?